following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Charlie Olson. Back in the saddle, a little New York baseball talk today. 2 segments. The first, Marty Rose, Robert Cole, you guys are both here to talk New York Met baseball. And in the second segment, Robert Deininger, Jack Degraw, and Wayne Unger are going to talk about the surprising New York Yankees, hit by a myriad of injuries, yet, what is it, first place?
Yes, first place by a half game.
By half game. Miracle season. So they'll be with you in the second segment. Robert Cole and Marty Rose are going to tell you about a less than stellar New York Met team. Have at it, guys.
Okay, Robert.
You, Ralph.
You take it, Robert.
Okay, Marty, should we start?
I should have introduced you one at a time. Marty Rose.
Yes, sir.
Robert Cole. Robert Cole's going to start it off.
Marty, should we start with the good news or the bad news?
Well, there's very little good news.
Well, the good news is that we are both here to talk about the bad news.
Well, this is very true.
Joy, guys.
That's good. Yeah, we're doing okay.
Again, yep. After once again being duped, okay, by our New York Mets and getting off to a decent start as we did last year, okay, we go into May like we did last year, and it's agony all over again. And then today you were following Brody Van Wagenen's press conference, and why don't you tell us all the good news that he had to tell us?
Oh, yeah, well, after this past weekend where the Mets got swept in Miami, everybody was anticipating that there would be something happening today. And hopefully the manager would get fired and that the players would get fired up, and something had to change after the ridiculous way they looked in Miami, and Cano looking totally clueless on the field. So the first questions to Van Wagenen was about the manager, and he says there's not going to be any change in the foreseeable future. Oh, really? Okay. But before that, the first thing he says to try to take the edge off the manager thing is that Cespedes has some kind of accident on his ranch in Port St. Lucie and broke one of his ankles in 2 places. So we're anticipating him coming back by July or August. Now he's out for the whole year, and who knows if he'll be even ready for next year. That's the one big thing. And then, of course, the managerial situation. He's here for the foreseeable future. He's speaking like nothing is wrong. He's just blabbering about everything is okay and we're going to work it out. And the Cano business, he's not in the lineup tonight. I tell you why he's not in the lineup. Yeah, they're saying that it's a rest day. But I was waiting to see him in the lineup and waiting to hear what the response from the fans were going to be tonight. So that was a little disappointing to me. But and then Lugo goes on the IL with shoulder tendonitis, and they bring up Hector Santiago to take his place, and Gagnon, who was supposed to start tonight, is now going to go into the bullpen to take Lugo's place. So our old buddy Font is pitching tonight. I mean, how bad can it get, Robert? I mean, did I say anything good there? I I don't think so.
No, but you left one other thing out, Mr. Lowry.
Oh. Lowry goes on this 60-day DL, which opens up a roster spot. But you know what? That's not terrible because, I mean, by the end of this month, 60 days will be up for the season. So, you know, if he's ready to come back, I guess he can come back in June. But it's been just awful.
Oh, it certainly has. I mean, you know, like I said in the beginning, you know, we've been duped. You know, Brody Van Wagenen came in, and the general manager choice came down to two guys, Brody Van Wagenen and Chaim Bloom, who was one of the architects of the Rays' successes. And what I've been finding out is Chaim Bloom told the Wilponzis that, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to take a couple of years. We're going to have to rebuild this team. We have some young pieces. We're going to have to use those young pieces, not trade anybody, not get rid of anybody, and build this up over the next couple of years. Okay? Van Wagenen goes in and says, oh, no, he says, I can get this thing right back on track. You know, I know the way the players think. I know the way other general managers think. Okay, with a couple of moves, a couple of things that I can do, we'll be, you know, contending this year. The Wilponzis drank the Kool-Aid, and now we have what we have. So, you know, we have basically a used car salesman, a slick used car salesman, you know, trying to sell us a bill of goods again.
Definitely. Oh, it's just amazing. And they gave up a ton of prospects for guys like Broxton, who is gone.
Yep.
Also, I think they gave prospects in the Seattle trade.
Seattle trade, they gave up their number one draft pick from last year, who was considered as a high school player the best hitter in the entire draft. And right now he's tearing up. It's low A ball, but he's tearing up the league that he's in. Okay, right now. They also gave up a pitcher whose name escapes me for the moment, who would have been in line probably to come up if necessary if, you know, other pitchers went down sometime during the year. So they gave up a lot to get Robbie Cano, okay, who neither one of us wanted. You know, if we go back to earlier shows, neither one of us liked that trade. And everybody said, well, you know, they're getting a closer. They need a closer, Diaz. Well, how much help has Mr. Diaz been? I mean, he's making his saves, but how many chances has he gotten to save?
Right.
So,
exactly.
You know,
that's all he gets used for.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
that's all he gets used for, and they haven't had that many opportunities, especially lately. And it's just looking like a carbon copy of last year, where they collapsed in May, and then in June they won a total of 5 games last year. And there's other drama going on also, like this Degraw Ramos business. Apparently, you know, they don't talk about it much, but apparently DeGrom doesn't like throwing to Ramos, and the Mets do not want to make Nito his personal catcher. They don't want to do that. So that could continue to be a problem the rest of the year.
Yeah, and that started right in spring training. I mean, there was talk about that they couldn't seem to get on the same page together, you know, right from the get-go, you know, in spring training. So, yeah, that definitely is a problem. You know, this Cano thing is a problem, okay? Just tonight, you know, listening to the game before we came on the air, Gary Cohen said, you know, here's something interesting. Mickey Callaway gave 3 reasons for Robbie Cano not starting tonight. Number 1, that he has trouble against lefties, which he has. Number 2 was his regular rest day. And number 3, he wanted to send a message to Cano about that it's not all right not to hustle. Newsman asked Cano about it, and Cano said, he never said anything to me about not hustling.
Yeah, so that's a flat-out lie.
Yep.
Right.
So,
and
again, right there, he got problems.
Yeah, if he wanted to make a statement, he would have pulled him out of the game yesterday. that's all right there.
Well,
So, you know,
he did it on Saturday, okay, and they made some stupid excuse that he thought there was 2 outs when there was only 1 out. Okay?
Right.
You're a Major League Baseball player getting millions of dollars. You need to know. And then Cano said, well, I looked at the scoreboard, and the scoreboard had 2 outs. And Callaway backed him up on that. You know, so, I mean, that's ridiculous. Okay. Then the very same thing happens the next day, and he doesn't run out a ball, and he gets doubled up
right in front
again.
of the plate. Yeah.
Yep,
right in front of his face, he could see it was fair. He was right there in the batter's box. The ball rolled maybe 2 feet away from the batter's box line.
Yep.
He could see it was fair.
Okay, any old-time manager would have pulled him out immediately. I mean, think what Gil Hodges might have done.
Yeah, exactly.
Gil would have gone out and bodily pulled him off the field.
I would think so. Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, you know, Mickey Callaway had all last year. Never really showed that he had the intestinal fortitude to stand up to the players. Okay, fine, you give him another year, all right? You know, okay, he has another year under his belt. Maybe he'll, you know, and once again, he just hasn't shown, you know, I guess I'll use the word balls, you know, with this team, and he kind of lets them run him.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just horrible, you know, just bad. I mean, you, myself, and Ralph have been following this team since the inception, you know, when we were all made orphans by the Giants and the Dodgers leaving. And, you know, it's almost comical, except that you want to cry instead of laugh.
I know. It's terrible. Well, I mean, just look at this lineup that they got out there. I mean, I understand there's guys missing today, but I mean, let's just go over who we actually have on this team and who the stars are supposed to be. Now, there's 2 things that Van Wagenen did this year, in my opinion, that were good moves. One was getting J.D. Davis, and he's been hitting so well that they got him in the outfield today, and he's not an outfielder, but they got to have him in there because he's a right-handed hitter, and he's been hitting well.
Yes.
And the other good thing he did was bringing Alonso right out of spring training and not sending him down for that 2-week business where they save a year off his contract time. So
yes.
Outside of those 2 things, I can't think of anything that he's done that has been any good. You know.
Yeah, and you know, and I go back to, you know, Chaim Bloom wanting to build a team, and you know, Brody saying he could do wonders with this team, and it just makes you, you know, you shake your head because there were some, you know, young talent. Okay, Alonso, McNeil, Rosario, Conforto, and if you left that intact, okay, maybe you wouldn't have contended this year, but you could also go bring a couple of the other younger guys along, you know, instead of trading prospects, you know, you pick up some prospects, and, you know, it's almost like it's a lost season unless somehow magic happens and, you know, they can turn this around, and I just don't really see that right now.
No, it's not going to happen. And they got guys that just aren't any good. I mean, let's face it. Lagares is in the last year of his contract. He was never a hitter. He's hitting, I think, 220-something this year. And he used to be a really good fielder. I guess he could still go back and get them. But did you see the throw he made the other day?
Oh, yes, yesterday.
To the plate? Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even a deep – it was like mid-center field, I mean, even short center field. And he made a terrible throw. I mean, it was offline. I don't know how many bounces. I mean, if he can't
had to go out in front of the plate
field,
and hit it.
Yeah, if he can't field, what good is he? He's no good at all. I mean, I don't know who. Okay, guys are hurt. I don't know who else they got. I mean, Nimmo's a decent outfielder, but I wonder if he's ever going to be more than a 220, 230 hitter. I even wonder about Conforto, to tell you the truth. They give him like $4 million this year for what? I mean, he's making like about $600,000, $700,000 last year. What has he done to earn $4 million a year? He's got some power. He shows it occasionally, but he's another guy that's gonna hit 260, and I just don't see him being a star player out there. Rosario, I think his hitting's been better. I like him up in the 2-hole, but his fielding has taken a downturn this year for some reason. I don't get that.
Well, I wonder if he had his mentor last year and the year before, and he doesn't have him this year. So I don't know. Maybe that plays into.
I mean, Jose. Yeah, he misses Jose, his buddy.
Yeah.
Well,
I think Cano was expected to bring that, and Cano is not that kind of a guy. He's not that kind of a leader.
No.
If anything, I call him a cancer. You got young players on this team, and you don't want to see him play the way he plays. That's not conducive to young players watching him.
No. Well, I guess the other issue would be the starting pitching, which we always think, oh, they got great starting pitching. Oh, they're one of the best in the league. Yeah, okay. Now, what's with Syndergaard? I mean, okay, the last time out, faced the Marlins, he was okay. But, prior to that, he's given up 5-6 runs a game. Wheeler is totally inconsistent. Looks great one time, stinks the next time out. Matz is inconsistent. I'm not gonna badmouth Degraw at this point. I think the situation with Ramos might have more to do with it than we think.
There's also that. It's historical that the year after a Cy Young, there's always been a downturn. Every one of them,
has to be. Yeah, I mean,
Scherzer.
Look, when he finished that season last year, I mean, we all knew that this is his career year.
Right.
This is it.
Right.
Now, he's never going to do that again. It's not possible. But, you expect him to be very good, if not great.
Right.
I think that's a pretty fair statement. But, he's had some really bad games this year, which totally out of his realm. I don't really get it. And, of course, you got Vargas, who and I think he's making a rehab start. He's another guy that's good for 5 innings.
Yep.
Font, if you get 5 innings out of him, you're lucky. The middle relief guys are, I don't know. Lately, they've been okay, actually. They've been pretty decent.
But then you lose Lugo, so.
Yeah, that has to hurt.
He's one of those guys that, other than 1 or 2 starts, when I think he was sick, if I'm not mistaken, he's been very good. He's kind of been the guy beside Diaz.
Gomez just came through with a big hit. I don't know if you got the game on.
Yeah, I've got it on. And you see
that was nice. Nice to see.
He's a guy, like I said when they brought him up, that can really make this team go. He's a funny guy. He's an excitable guy. He gets things going. The dugout just got all excited when he got that hit, so. Yeah.
He's been around a long time.
Why is Lagares going back out on the field?
I don't know. Would they rule out a ground rule double or something? Or?
Because now they're showing bases loaded.
No, second and third. That was a double.
Second, third? Okay.
Yeah.
No, bases loaded.
But.
I see. They walked Lagares intentionally.
They walked Lagares.
Okay.
Yeah. But, yeah, I got some new device here that I bought that lets me watch on the big screen. So, no more computers.
Good.
No more. Yeah, that was something new that I didn't really know about until I spoke to my brother the other day. Because I don't have a smart TV. Okay, I got one of the older TVs.
Right.
And I'm talking to my brother, and he's a Dodger fan. He's watching the Dodgers game, and he's saying he's watching it on the big screen. I said, yeah, how you doing that? He says, I got this Chromecaster thing. Yeah, I said, well, what is that?
Yes.
So I went out and got one for $35 and hooked up very easily, and it's great. It's terrific.
Oh, it really is great. You can go on YouTube and watch old ball games and project it onto the big screen. It's really it is. That was one of my Christmas presents from my son.
Ah, good. That's good.
Just to go off subject real quick, how is it that your brother's a Dodger fan and you were a Giant fan?
You know what? No, I was never a Giant fan. Ralph was the Giant fan. We were both born in Brooklyn. Okay. I was the older one. He was just a baby when we moved to Queens. And we were Dodger fans. My mother was a Dodger fan. My father was a Giant fan. And when we were kids, we had the Dodger uniforms, the kiddie uniforms.
Yeah.
And for some reason, he never turned to the Mets. When the Mets came, he just, for some reason, stayed a Dodger fan. And so he's been going through some difficult Octobers the last few years, but at least he gets there.
Yeah. Well, me and Ralph, converse on Facebook a lot and stuff, private messaging. Your brother and Peter Trunk and a couple of other people do that with the Dodgers, and somehow I'm on that group also. They're worse than we are. They're worse than
really?
we are. Yeah. They're screaming about every pitch and every move that the manager makes. Pretty funny. But at least they have some victories.
It's really something. I'm actually on this Mets Talk Facebook site, and people are. I don't know, it seems like there's a lot of our age people on there,
right?
And they're pretty good. Everybody's knowledgeable, and everybody. They get pissed off, but they're not pissed off enough that they don't make jokes and stuff, So, I enjoy that too. It's pretty good. I like
right now as Mets fans. I mean, we need to find a little humor somewhere.
It's not looking good. I'm really, really disappointed in this. We had this 15-game spot here where we had the Marlins twice and the Nationals twice and the Tigers coming up. And, one game got rained out, so it was 15 games. And we're all talking, and the radio people, blah, blah, blah. They can't win less than 11 games in this, to be halfway decent.
Right.
And look what's happened already. This is just, it's really sickening, honest to God. Now, hopefully they can hang on and win this game tonight. Winning a game with Font starting is a blessing if that happens.
Well, he's
I'm not counting any chickens.
No.
It's still early. with this guy and the bullpen, who knows? But they got to win. They got to win at least 2 out of 3. This is a 4-game series. It would be nice to win 3 out of 4. I mean, they can't even split. They got to win 3 out of 4, and then they got to win 2 out of 3 from Detroit. I mean, Detroit's not any good. This is just. It has to happen if they expect to turn things around. Otherwise, it's gotten ugly already, but it can get a lot uglier.
Yeah, and I just saw that, this as being a point where you make a manager's change. Okay, not that I'm blaming Callaway for everything because, he can't hit and he can't pitch, but you had to do something to put a spark under this team. Now, maybe Wegener figures, like with all the talk and everything, maybe this will get the team going behind Callaway. I don't know, but we'll have to see. But I thought this was the perfect time to try to light a fire under this team.
I guess they're going to try lighting their own fire by a little, scoring 4 runs here helps, because the other guys just got one back.
Yeah, Rondon.
Rondon is a really good player. Man,
yes,
he is solid. Man. Free agent at the end of this year, too.
Well, the only thing that I can think of where they, maybe they didn't make a move managerial-wise right now is the guy that they want said, I don't want to come in middle of the season, okay? Why don't you, play out the season, let me evaluate the team, and then I'll come on at the end of the year.
Who do you think that might be?
That could be Girardi, could be Dusty Baker. Those are two guys that are out there that, have been talked about.
Wouldn't want Dusty Baker.
No, I don't either.
His contract, Callaway's contract is just 2 years, or was it 3? Do you remember?
That I don't remember, no.
Yeah, I don't remember. I hope it's 2.
Yeah, so do I. But that's the only thing.
Then it'll be a little easier maneuvering at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But, oh, God.
Because I figured they would, get rid of Callaway, bring in Riggleman, who's, already there as the bench coach, and play out the season. But
Right. That's what everybody is anticipating. But we thought it was going to happen today. And then the foreseeable future he's here for. Well, I hope his eyesight isn't that good. That's all. Oh, man. All right. I guess we got our half hour in, Robert. So
I think we beat this horse pretty good tonight.
Okay. Well, we said our piece. I think we did okay. So we'll just say goodnight, I guess, and whenever Mr. Comfortably Zone wants to do another one, we'll do another one. So.
And we'll let the Yankee boys gloat over their good fortunes while we.
Oh my God!
In our misery.
Yeah, unbelievable what they're doing. But let them talk about that. So.
Okay.
Yep. All right, Robert. See you next week.
Okay,
good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hello and welcome to Weighted Donuts. We are part of the Comfortably Zone Network, and I'm Wayne Unger, and I'm here with Robert Deininger and Jack Degraw, and it's Yankee time. So we're gonna try something different this week. We're gonna break it up a little bit. I mean, I know we'll end up going off in different directions anyway, but we're gonna try to break it down. So tell you what, let's start off with Robert. Like, including tonight, what's going on with the Major League club?
Well, they're playing the Orioles, and the Orioles since April 22nd have the worst record in the major leagues at 5-15, and the Yankees have won 8 of the last road games against Baltimore, but tonight they're down 5-1 in the 5th. Happ gave up a couple of home runs and just didn't have his stuff. But some big news. Stanton tonight went 1 for 3 with the home run in high A, and Didi went 2 for 4 in a simulated game. He's on track to be back by mid-June. So it looks like we're going to have Didi and Stanton back pretty soon. And Wilponzis threw 50 pitches from about 90 feet on Sunday, and he threw 100 feet today. And they're hoping he's back by sometime in June, too. The Yankees should be getting some reinforcements in June.
Well, it's funny. They're getting reinforcements and they're in first place.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. Hey, Jack, Stanton hit that home run in Tampa. By any chance, did it land by your house?
No, Wayne, I'm about 5 miles away, but I remember when A-Rod used to hit him in Sheffield, they used to get pretty close. I remember they used to hit him on Dale Mabry, which was like 450 feet. So they're getting close.
They're getting close, yeah. I mean, it's funny. I was like, prepping a little bit, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a little minor league update, and I'm like, wait a second. They're all in the major league. So, but no, they're still happening. They're still happening. They signed Kendry Morales. Now I know he's just a stopgap, and he's most likely going to get released once they get healthy. But even he, started hitting the ball a little bit. Once he came to the Yankees. I mean, hey, he brought his average over the Mendoza line. Something to be said for that. So it's almost as though even with all the injuries, it's almost like besides the injuries, but any other player that stays healthy, that comes to the team, turns to gold. So I don't know if that's incredible luck or if it's just incredible scouting, by the Yankees scouting staff, as well as Brian Cashman, looking for undervalued pieces, and I have no idea. But it's pretty incredible. And you're almost scared to see them come back to health. You're afraid it might muck it up.
Yeah, Estrada and Urshela have played, but they've been brilliant playing up here. And Tulowitzki, he's been taking ground balls at third base, and he's told the Yankees organization he's willing to play anywhere in the infield because he knows that once Didi comes back, there might not be a roster spot for him the way Urshela's been playing and Estrada. So Tulowitzki, he might not have a roster spot when he's healthy. These guys are playing so good.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Estrada, he's playing well. It's still a small sample. Urshela, has gotten a little bit more at that, but so we'll have to see. But speaking of the injury bug, did you guys hear that even the Yankees charter plane is on the injured list?
Yeah, I think I saw an article, but I didn't read it. Yeah.
Okay, they had trouble. Their charter plane had mechanical trouble, and they had to charter a bus. So they actually busted to Baltimore. Okay, it's incredible. So. And so Jack, you're the old timer guy. You're the old timer, and I think you mentioned the old timer that we're gonna talk about this week. One of my absolute favorites. I mean, his early on in his career, they were calling him MM, so to speak, if you remember. Is that who we're talking about tonight?
Yep. Bobby Mercer. And when we spoke about him the other day, Wayne, I mean, I didn't realize today would have been his 73rd birthday.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll never forget the headlines after he had, I believe he had a 3 home run game, and they called him Mickey Mercer.
Was he hailed as the next Mickey Mantle when he came up?
Yeah. Yes, he was, because he too came up as a shortstop as well, just like Mantle did.
Yeah, my father's 3 favorite players were Mantle, Elston Howard, and then Bobby Mercer.
Yeah, and I tell you, I remember when he got traded to San Francisco for Bobby Bonds. I was living in Florida at the time, and I was like, no, like it was almost like it was like when someone gives you like really bad news and you're shaking your head like, please I hope that was a dream. I hope I didn't just hear that. So yeah, I was pretty I won't say devastated, but I was like, oh no. So but
one of the things is Mercer had just talked to George Steinbrenner, and George said, no, we'll never trade you. And a week later, they traded him.
Wow. And, you know, I mean, I tell you what, he had, I won't say he had a Hall of Fame career, but he wasn't, you know, he had some years where, I mean, he had a 10-year run, you know, or close to a 10-year run where he was, you know, he was pretty darn good. You know, and he was, I won't say he was a 5-tool player because he didn't have the arm, but he could run, he could hit, he can hit for power, he can catch the ball. He had a really good eye at the plate. So, you know, he had more career walks than strikeouts. So, yeah, pretty solid career.
Well, one of the things, Wayne, I mean, you just mentioned, I mean, I was lucky. I went to a lot of games, you know, when Munson hit his first home run, Mercer, Michael, and, Michael hit 3 homers on 5 pitches, and I seen the game when Bobby, they buried Munson that Monday. I was at that game. But another game you just mentioned, like he had 4 home runs in a doubleheader against Cleveland. And I'll tell a couple little stories about it. It was June 24th, 1970, and it was like a midweek doubleheader. And in the first game, in the 9th inning, Bobby hit a home run off Sam McDowell. The Indians won the game 7-2. But there's a couple side notes to that. That was the game, if you look on YouTube, you can see where Steve Hamilton threw the folly floater to Tony Horton, and Horton popped it up and crawled in the dugout. And an interesting thing about that, Steve Hamilton was the baseball coach at Morehead State, and he was Phil Simms' baseball coach, the Giant quarterback, when Phil Simms was at Morehead State. And in the second game, Mercer had the 3 home runs, and he hit 2 off Mike Paul, and then he hit a game winner in the bottom of the 8th to put the Yankees ahead off Fred Lasher. But the interesting thing, there was 2 other side notes in that. There was a fight at home plate between Veda Pinson and Stan Bonson. And also, Ray Fosse, the Indians catcher, somebody threw a cherry bomb from the upper deck and hit Ray Fosse in the foot, and he had, bad abrasions and stuff. And 2 weeks later is when he got hit at home plate by Pete Rose in the All-Star game. So that was the start of some bad luck for Ray Fosse.
Wow. I mean, and when you think about, like, you know, what a zoo Yankee Stadium was back in the day. I mean, listen, look what happened in the playoffs when Mark Littell. Remember, there was, you know, before he gave up that home run to Chambliss, there was like at least a 20-minute delay. They were throwing stuff all over the field, and you know, I mean, you know, we've spoken with Mark about it, and I mean, he never puts the blame on it, but yes, he acknowledges it. But yeah, they were almost going to forfeit the game or call the game. You know, Yankee Stadium was pretty zooey place in those days, to say the least. And
yeah, I remember I was out in left field when they threw the cherry bomb, and I remember, you know, Bob Shepard got on and said, you know, if there's another incident, the Yankees are going to have to forfeit the game, and it was a scary sight. I mean, that was 50 years ago, so it's always been pretty bad. The fans have always been pretty rowdy, especially in New York, and the crowd at Shea Stadium for the Jets games. Well, that's another story. We could go into that sometime.
Yes, and, you know, and it's funny, I was just talking with somebody the other day. I said, you know, the only two live football games that I've been to, professional, I should say, were at Shea Stadium, and this was before the merger. So my first game was the Jets played the Houston Oilers, and they had that great return man, Abner Hayes, and the Jets won. And then my second game was against the Boston Patriots. This was before they were called the New England Patriots. And the Jets lost. And not only that, they did not put up nets for field goals and extra points. So I went with my uncle and my younger cousin, and I drifted off. I was positioning myself at, you know, on each end of the field because, well, I really more like on the where home plate is, because the other end of the field you had no chance. But because I was trying to get a football, and my uncle was like, he was afraid I was going to get trampled. But I'll never forget that either. So, and here it is. You see, we veered off into football. But
yeah.
It's like you say, it's amazing. Mercer comes back to the Yankees, and he's the one that, you know, he single-handedly led them to victory in the first game back after Munson's funeral. So.
Yeah, I was sitting out in right field that night, and the Yanks were losing 4-0. And I'll make it quick. Mercer hit a 3-run homer in the 6th or 7th inning, and then in the 9th inning he got a 2-run single off Tippy Martinez to win the game 5-4. And you know, it was a very emotional night. And you know, I met Bobby a couple of times over the years. I always thanked him for that memory. And you know, he was a special player, and you know, it was just a great night and a very sad night too, because Thurman asked Munson and his wife to go on the trip with him back to Ohio when the plane crashed, and Bobby said, "No, you don't have enough hours in the air." So you know.
And wasn't he flying a new plane, a new type of plane?
Yes, he had stepped up to, I believe it was a jet. I think he went from a prop plane to a jet.
Wow.
So
yeah, he just didn't have the hours. You know, he didn't have the experience to fly that plane.
And I believe actually what he crashed practicing takeoffs and landings. That's what he was doing. He was practicing. So, yeah. And you know, another thing is, you know, a lot of people, everybody remembers, and this is something that this is something that always irks me, because I'm like the lone Yankee fan that was not a real Derek Jeter fan, and I'm not minimizing what he did on the field statistically, but Thurman Munson, and this is not hearsay. This comes right from the mouth of Diane Munson, his widow. Okay, she said that Thurman and Reggie mended fences. She said Thurman knew he had to do it if the team was going to win. They mended fences, okay, and they became good friends. And Reggie and Thurman Reggie was up flying with Thurman the week before he crashed. Wow. And and when I heard that, and I thought about how Derek Jeter had Alex Rodriguez on the burn, okay, for pretty much the same exact thing. If you remember correctly, Reggie Jackson was interviewed in Sports Illustrated, and he said something to the effect, "I'm the straw that stirs the drink. Thurman can only stir it bad." And I believe Alex said something to the effect like, "Well, he doesn't know what it's like to have to bat third or fourth. That's where the real pressure is." And to me, the team, that was one of the reasons to me the team never gelled with Alex Rodriguez. He certainly put up the individual numbers, but there was just always, it was like, it was always that white elephant in the room kind of atmosphere. And to me, everybody talks about Jeter being the consummate team player. I'm sorry, that was not the team player. And there were other things as well over the years that irked me about Jeter, and particularly in his last year when he couldn't hit. And Derek Jeter was known to put down the bunt. When the guy was batting over 300, he would give up the hit and he'd put down the bunt to move the runner over. He would do things like that. In his last year when he really couldn't hit, he never bunted. And Joe Girardi knew he couldn't drop him in the order. It had to come from Jeter, and Jeter never did it. So those are a few things, and there are others. I don't want to get into it, but those are a few things. But making the comparison between two captains, to me, Thurman was a true captain, selfless, team only.
Jim Lehretz in '95. He was talking about how Don Mattingly worked countless hours with him at first base, teaching him and helping him with his defense. And Jim Lehretz was always so grateful because he's like, here's a guy who's, teaching me how to take his job, but he was doing it for the team, helping me. And there's stories like that with Donnie helping people behind the scenes. And there's a story with Derek Jeter before Jeter came up to the majors, where they were on Steinbrenner Field in Florida, and they were coming in from the outfield, and Donnie told him, jog to the dugout, and he's like, why? No one's here. He goes, you never know who's watching.
Yeah.
And I'd like to bring up another thing about the Jeter and A-Rod, and I'd love to hear you guys' opinion of it. When A-Rod come to the Yankees, I don't think there was any question who was the better shortstop.
No question whatsoever.
Third base. A-Rod went to third base and become an excellent third baseman. But personally, I think A-Rod's one of the greatest players who ever played the game. But I don't think he's given enough credit for switching positions. I just love your
doubt.
opinion.
No, there is no doubt that A-Rod was the better fielding shortstop. Listen, Derek Jeter did not have the best lateral movement. He had a good arm. He could throw off balance. I don't know if I've ever seen an infielder take take short flies in the outfield with their back to home plate any better than Jeter. That's just perception, but I'm just out, trying to, make a point of how good he was at that. But laterally, he was not a great left to right shortstop. And again, that was another thing. He could have, he could have gone to third. He could have gone to center field. So, but yes, I agree. And I'll tell you the other thing that irked me, and I've mentioned this before. Bob Shepard's funeral, okay? To me, now granted, he wasn't the only one. The Yankees were off. They were in town, and they were off on the day of Bob Shepard's funeral. And not one Yankee player attended.
Wow.
I believe, and I don't even think I think Brian Cashman was like the only one who went out there. So now, that being said, to then turn around and use Bob Shepard's recording, okay, to announce you going to the plate, I thought that was like, that was, to me, was like such bullshit. That was so phony, okay? Yeah. Like, you're trying to show how you honor the guy. Hey, take some time out of your day. You don't want to, it's a long drive out to Long Island. Hire a freaking limo. Like you got it like that, and just, I can go on, but, the money grabs when he was closing in on 3,000 hits, all you heard on the radio all day long on sports radio. Why, get the commemorative this, the 3,000 hit commemorative bat, the 3,000 hit commemorative ball, the 3,000 hit, commemorative toilet paper. I mean, it never ended. And the same thing with his last season, and it was all about milking the money. You look at Mariano Rivera, his final season, he was meeting with families. That's what he did. Every stadium he went to, he was meeting with families. He had breakfast or lunch with families. Okay, it was like it was a religious Christian thing for him, but it doesn't matter. The bottom line is he was, it wasn't about the money grab for him. And,
he was authentic.
So I'm sorry. I'm just not one of those Yankee fans who thinks about Derek Jeter and it's like, wow, I'm just not. And actually, under pressure and under, without the Teflon, without the New York Yankee Teflon protecting him, we're kind of seeing a little more of the true Jeter as president of the Marlins. And, and I don't know if he's actually titled as president, but he's managing partner, so to speak. He's, the guy running that team. Anyway, enough of my rant. So, and New York Yankee prospects. It's unbelievable. Like so many of them are up at the team, and even, and what's his name? Oh, and Chance Adams just came up, and he pitched great the other day. As a matter of fact, Jack, when I met up with you in Tampa when we were at the minor league camp, Chance pitched that day. He pitched really good. And I was like, oh, man, I know he's just pitching against other minor leaguers. I hope I'm thinking to myself, I hope it's a good sign. But, they still got a lot of talent. And when you look at their top 30 prospects, I'll say the top 30 prospects according to MLB.com. I don't think there's anybody in the top 30 that was even from that heralded 2015 signing class, where they signed I think they signed 11 or 12 of the top 30 international prospects. Although those guys they're still young, they're still developing. I'd say the one that's furthest along actually is a shortstop from Korea, Hoi Jun Park. He's up to Trenton. He's actually he's hitting the ball well. So it seems as though like his the last 4 years he's had to repeat a level, but each time he improves. But this year he's off to a hot start. He's got he's not a power hitter, but he's got a tiny little bit of pop. He's got good speed. He's got a decent eye at the plate. Who knows?
I think 21 of the Yankees' 30 top prospects are right-handed pitchers.
Well,
including Albert Abreu, who I've heard them talking about.
Yeah, there's Abreu, and you know what? And they got this, and they've got Domingo Acevedo, who I look at him and like he's this year they have him throwing in relief. I don't think he's going to make it as a starter, but he's size-wise, basically he kind of looks like a Dylan Betances clone. 6'7", throws as high as 103, but he can't. He probably doesn't have the secondary pitches to be a starter. So he's doing better as a reliever this year. His ERA is a little high, but with a reliever you can one bad outing and with only 22 innings, that can affect your numbers. But it's just but they have been plugging guys in. Their top prospect, L'Oreal, he's still injured. Another one of their guys, I think it was this other guy, a pitcher. I got to look for him.
Is it Debbie Garcia?
No, Michael King, another guy injured.
Yep.
They got a guy. He's in low class A, Louis Gill. He's looking really well.
Oh, that's right. He struck out 9 in his last outing, I think.
Yeah, he walks a few, but you know what? He does. They don't make contact on him, and he strikes out like a batter and a half an inning. So, they're well poised. It'll be interesting to see if they make a mid-season move, a trade. I'd love to see them sign Keuchel after the June 3rd draft when there's no compensation attached. I'd love to see them sign Keuchel. I'm curious to know. I've never seen this written anywhere whether or not Keuchel would shave his beard.
I'm sure he would for the Yankees.
Well, if they give him all those millions, he will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, listen, he's the guy. Jermaine has come in. He's been great, but I still look at the Yankees starting staff. I'm sorry, they're fragile.
James Paxton threw Friday and Sunday, and he still felt soreness in his knee, and he's going to throw another bullpen session tomorrow. And if everything goes okay, they'll activate him for his next start. But the fact that his knee's still sore doesn't bode well.
Yeah, and like I say, the only out of all their pitchers that are on the guys that are up now, I believe Happ was like the only guy who was like injury free last year. Sabathia was hurt. Tanaka there's always something. like I said, Paxton missed time last year too. It was the most to 160 innings, I believe, and that was the most he ever threw. So
yeah, and that's the thing with Herman. He's going to be throwing more innings this season than he's ever had in his career before. So he might fade down the stretch or into the second half.
Well, either that or they may end up overusing him. And I'm telling you, I said it on the last show. I truly believe that's what happened with Severino, 2017.
And you called it. He's not going to pitch this year. You're not going to see him pitch this year.
I don't think so. I don't think so either. So, well, gentlemen.
The thing with Herman, just one more thing, let me throw in. The thing with Herman, if you guys look at his stats throughout the minors and the major league, he's only thrown maybe 85, 90 innings a year in his 9 years in professional baseball. So he doesn't have a lot of innings under his belt. So you're wondering how many innings is he going to go this year? Maybe 135, 140 innings max. So, that's something to look at too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole thing. That was the thing with what's his name, with Severino. In 2017, he went over by, I believe, it was 57 innings. So, and that is real. That I mean, 2018, I think, he didn't throw a lot in 2018 at all. I think his high would have been around 123 innings. And that was actually in 2014.
Yeah, so that's a concern.
For sure. So, gentlemen, it's time for us to wrap it up. The comfortably zoned Emperor asked for 30 minutes, and I call him the Emperor because I call it the comfortably zoned Empire. So I appreciate you guys showing up and accommodating the time when I was free. And I guess we'll be back in a couple of weeks and we'll do it again.
Sounds good.
Sounds good, guys.
All right, gentlemen. You have a good night.
You too.
You too.
The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.